James Motivates here, January 18th, 2021, my birthday. Thank you for tuning in. Let's do two. All right, class is in session. This is a special take because not only is it my birthday, but it's Martin Luther King Jr. Day. Not his birthday. His birthday was the 15th, so happy belated birthday to MLK Jr. and his family. But we got to discuss this legacy a little bit. As you saw on the thumbnail, I raised the question, is Martin Luther King the greatest African-American leader in history? Now, before we dissect that, I want to be clear. African-American history. So really starting with the formation of the United States in 1776. From that year up until 2021. We're going to dissect it. Let's talk about it. First of all, before we get into it, I would actually want to know who's your GOAT amongst African-American leaders. As you all know, for me, my argument is going to be for MLK. Nah, and I'm not doing this just because it's MLK Day. Well, I kind of am. Yeah, kind of. But that's not the point. The point is that I'm about to break down why MLK is the GOAT. For those who don't know what the GOAT is, that's the GOAT, the greatest of all time. Let's get into it. I got my notes here ready for you. This isn't a debate. It's more so a conversation. I want to have a conversation with you all. I don't want to go back and forth. This isn't about knocking anybody down. I'm one of the biggest Malcolm X fans you may ever run into. But this isn't about knocking someone else down to put someone else at the top. We can have a bunch of GOATs. But this is just my personal favorite. And this is why. I want to go facts over feelings. Let's just talk about some of the things that Dr. Re-emphasize, Dr.
You better call him doctor.
Doctor with over 20 honorary degrees, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. This is more than just I have a dream speech. Let's just talk about some of the things that he has accomplished. He's the only African American. Scratch that. He's the only American, only one, after George Washington, to have his birthday as a national holiday. That just goes to show you how impactful this man was for not just the African American community, but for the American country as a whole. This man was a patriot. This man was somebody who fought the system.
Not like that, though.
This man was somebody who was
not like that.
People. Not just his people, all people. And we're going to get into that later on. Let's continue. At 15 years old, think about what you were doing at 15. When I was 15, I'm playing video games. I'm hanging out with friends, playing basketball. This is when like Xbox 360 was out and popping. Now you got PS5s and Xbox Ones and Xbox One S and PS5 Ultra Slim and all this other stuff. Back then, at 15, life was simple. We just wanted to have fun. This man was in college. Shout out to all the HBCU grads and HBCU students. He went to an HBCU. So I don't like when people like to downgrade HBCUs as if HBCUs are something bad. No. This is where a lot of our heroes went. Even if you didn't graduate, you still took a lot just from attending an HBCU. So we got to stop downgrading our HBCUs in general. But let's get back on task. Next point. He was at a book signing one day. MLK endured so much pain during his path to becoming who he was that at any moment, any one of these moments, the average person would quit. At a book signing, a woman approached him asking to sign her book. Of course, the great Dr. Martin Luther King would do it. No problem. She ended up stabbing him with that pen, almost killing him. Literally a breath away from death. He gets out the hospital and continues to fight. Again, patriot, soldier, general, someone who's willing to put it all on the line. Fearless. I want to re-emphasize that. Fearless. Got out of the hospital bed and went right back to work. Next point. He got hit in the head with a brick. During one of the protests, one of the somebody got out of line, wanted to prove their point, and you know he believed in nonviolence. We don't got to get into all of that because they teach you that in grade school millions of times. Again, hit with a brick, continued to march, continued to fight, continued to advocate. All right? Next point. He's one of the main reasons why JFK got into office. The President of the United States. Because he supported Dr. Martin Luther King when he was in prison. And for the record, he was in prison about 30 times because he continued to fight the power. Really outside fighting the power. Not behind some screen talking about what we need to be doing in the streets. He was actually outside in the streets. Because of that, when JFK decided to support that man, it got the black turnout, and that's how JFK got into office. They don't talk about that in public school. This man was so influential, he got the president at the time into office while behind bars. Next point. Let me go ahead, man. Later on in his life, he became a little more radical. It wasn't about the whole nonviolent thing. It was about let's fight back. He wanted to fight back a little more. His rhetoric changed a little bit. It went from let's get equality for African Americans to let's get economic prosperity for everybody. Everybody. He realized that the dollar was important. He realized that the dollar can change the lives of many of his people. It was about helping poor people across the board. Not just those who were oppressed, but it was about helping everybody who was at the bottom. Whether they be black, white, Spanish, whatever you want to call it, he was down to help you. Next point. This man, through all of this, through the Jim Crow, through the bombs, through the mistreatment of black people, the water hoses, the dogs being sicked on them, the bricks being thrown. Throughout all of this, the man even predicted his own death. What I want you to do is, on the bottom of this video, you're going to see a link. I want you to listen to his final speech. His final speech. The man predicted his own death. You can even skip it to the end. It's like the last 2 minutes or so, 3 minutes or so of the speech. The man spoke about how he's not going to make it to see this day. The man spoke about how he's not going to make to see what's happening in 2021 right now as we speak. Whether you want to say we made progress or not. The man predicted that he wasn't going to make it to this day. He predicted that it's time for him to move on. That he's not going to come to the mountaintop with us. He said this. This man was a prophet. And then a few days later, if not, I'm not sure about the exact date, but once he made that speech, it could have been the next day or the next week, he was assassinated. And now we have on record his last song request before stepping out of that motel. He was speaking to someone who plays the saxophone at a jazz club. I think this was the night before. He said, my request is to play, when I get back from my speech, because he was supposed to give a speech that day, I want you to play Precious Lord, Take My Hand. Now, why would a man, after prophesizing his death, then later on that night, go out and request this song? He knew what was going on. He knew what was going on. The man gave his life for this country. The man gave his life for his people. And the man gave his life in hopes of a better future. Now, those aren't my main reasons, but those are just some of the things I wanted you to know. These are some of the things that I didn't even know when I was taught about MLK in school. Only thing they taught me was I Have a Dream speech. It was way more deeper than that. Read the autobiography. Read the different accounts from people who were close with him. You'll learn a whole another side of Dr. Martin Luther King that they don't even really teach us in school. Now, I want to go into the systematic changes that this man, Dr. Martin Luther King, made at Capitol Hill. This man sat with the president against the advice of a lot of people during that era. They thought that they shouldn't sit with these people, that they shouldn't negotiate, that they shouldn't go to the White House or Capitol Hill, wherever that they were in D.C. But because of this man's contributions, he got the 1964 Civil Rights Act passed. Now, you ask, or you may not ask, or you may not care about why that's important. Here's why you should. This law reversed the Supreme Court decision of separate but equal. That meant that it was okay to discriminate against race. It was okay to discriminate against sex. It was okay to discriminate against religion. That if you were black or brown, that you would have to go here because the law said so. If you were white, you had to go over here because the law said so. You couldn't play in that playground. You couldn't go to that school. You couldn't go to that movie theater. You couldn't do this by law. So now, we passed this law, the 1964 Civil Rights Act. Look it up, read it in its entirety, get a better understanding of it, and apply it to today. In 2021, you see different mixes of people protesting today. You see offices and buildings filled with different races, ideas, colors, backgrounds, religions, because of an act that got passed with efforts of this man in the civil rights movement. Is that to say he did this alone? That would be an insult to the entire movement. I'm not saying that. But as the face of the movement and as a quote-unquote leader of the movement, we're going to start with him. And we're going to give the rest of the credit, of course. But because of this man's perseverance and willingness to give his community the again, we are now able to sit across the table from each other and be comfortable. This man helped bring America closer. He wasn't outside just spewing some dribble. He lived by the words that he said. And he died knowing that his death was going to push the country forward. And that's why MLK is my goal. Is because of the systematic changes America took as a result of the actions by this man and those who supported him. I don't know of anybody who can talk about the systematic changes in American law like you can about this man. But let's have that conversation. In the bottom, in the comments right now, after you like and subscribe, because if you like this video, of course, thank you, I appreciate that. I'll look at that as a birthday present. So after you like and subscribe, tell me in the comments who is your greatest African-American leader and why. Also, there's going to be a link at the bottom. Go listen to his last speech. Because you always hear about the I Have a Dream speech. Listen to his last speech. And you'll see the difference in the tone. You'll see the difference in the message. And you'll also see how he prophesied his own death. Thank you for all the birthday love. This is James Motivates. Like and subscribe to 40 Central right now for more content. Thank you so much for your support. Class dismissed.
That's all I need. That's all I need. Let me talk. I was running out of patience. That's the reason why my legs was aching. Niggas try to lock me in that basement. I broke out, it was greatness. I ain't really dealing with that fake shit. Trapping from the stores for elevation. I'm tired of toting ratchets. Thank God I never have to clap him. Play my movie role when it's action. But nigga, I ain't acting. Cali Plug supply me with the package. Wrapped around my bitch like a mackage. They playing the